Jenna Van Mourik, and I'm an inspired writer and an inspirational fiction reader. I love Christian fiction, historical fiction, and all things in between. I'm a current college student studying English, writing, and theology, and I'm a dog mom to Piper. Today, I'm going to be doing the 10 Bookish Confessions tag. That was a mouthful. I was not officially tagged by anyone, but I think it's just a fun, ooh, my light's not on. Sorry about that, there's just been a random change in lighting, so I'm sorry if that bothers you. You can just click away. I'm here today and I'm gonna be doing the 10 Bookish Confessions tag. I've seen this tag floating around the internet and I thought it'd be really fun to just do for myself and do as kind of an introduction to my channel, as well as, you know, my blog and Instagram and stuff and what that's all about, considering I base my brand off of books. So question number 1 is, do you or don't you borrow books? I will borrow out books. I will loan people my books, but only while they're in my house. I don't let people leave my house with my books. And I don't really borrow other people's books. I like to buy my own books and own them so I can treasure them forever and ever and ever. I don't borrow them. I don't really borrow them out, but if you're in my house and you want to read, you can read while I'm watching you to make sure you don't damage the book or take it. Question number 2 is, do you read only one book at a time, or do you read multiple books at the same time? I read one book at a time, usually, unless I'm reading a book and I'm really not that into it, then I might stop the book and then pick up another one just to see, and then I'll eventually come back to that book. But that very rarely happens. I usually get invested in a book. I usually try to read the first like 50 to 100 pages in one sitting. And then I usually know by like 100 pages if it's gonna be a book that I'm gonna finish, or if it's gonna be a book that I'm probably gonna put down. So if I'm not enjoying the book, I'll put it down and save it for later. I don't think that technically counts as reading multiple books at the same time. Question number 3 is, do you like your book series to match, or are you fine with mismatching books? I like all of my series to match, which is a problem I have. We ordered them off of Amazon or eBay or something. Some of them are like regular, and then some have like modern, like they're the modern edition or whatever, and then some of them are the special, the super large font edition, so they're a bigger size than the others, like they're taller, and it bothers me. Maybe one day when I'm like financially stable, I'll go out and buy all new One Calls the Heart books that match, because that's the only book series that I have that doesn't match. Yeah, it bothers me, but I mean, I'm living with it. I've lived with it for a couple of years or so. Question number 4 is, do you skip to the end and read the end of the book? Yes. Whenever I buy a book, I never buy a book without reading the last page. So I'll see a book in Barnes & Noble, I'll think, oh, the premise sounds good, flip to the last page, read the last page. Or not even the last page, sometimes I'll just read like the last line or the last paragraph. And it's a thing I do. I don't know why I do it. And people are always like, no, you'll be spoiled. I've only ever once been spoiled by the last page or the last paragraph, because usually it's just something like, and then they lived happily ever after. And that will clue me in on whether or not I want to read the book. Because once I didn't do that, I bought a book solely based off the premise, and the premise was like, boy and girl fall in love, and it's cute. And I bought it, and the last page of the book, they broke up, and that was it. And I was just like, you can't do that to me as a reader. So yeah, I always read the last page of a book, or the last paragraph, not page. I don't usually read the last page. Otherwise, if I invest my time into it and my heart gets broken, I'm a very angry reader. Question number 5 is, do you prefer thick or thin books? I don't really understand this question. If it's a thin book, doesn't that mean that it's a shorter book? And if I really love the characters, I'm always going to want more. So why would I want a really thin-spined book? But I don't like it when a book is really tall, because generally books are all like roughly the same size on the shelf, and then you get a really tall book, and it just like, it throws off the groove of the bookshelf. I don't like that. I think though, for reading in general, I like a medium-sized book, like of an inch, maybe an inch and a half. Question number 6 is how often do you write reviews? I write a review whenever I finish a book. I don't like to hold myself to a schedule because I like to enjoy the book. But that said, I am a pretty fast reader. I used to be a faster reader. I used to just be able to read books like in a day or in 2 days. And, just one sitting, knock a book out. And then, I'm sorry, apparently there are clouds in the sky that I wasn't aware of. I used to be able to just read books in one sitting and be done, and I was a really fast reader. And then I got engaged, and if you've ever planned a wedding before, it takes up all your time, you don't have time to do anything else. And then after I got married and things kind of slowed down, I was able to get back into reading, but I wouldn't say I'm as fast as I used to be. And I don't like to put myself up against standards. I don't like to pressure myself to finish a book, because then I'm just gonna be reading just to read and not reading to really absorb the story or maybe get something out of it. So I take my time, make sure that every book that I read thoroughly, and that my opinions on that book are authentic and well thought out. Question number 7 is the worst cliche in a book. I don't actually have problems with cliches in books. I actually really enjoy when a book is cliche. Just because it's it's funny. It's kind of like when you're watching a Hallmark movie and you're wondering, why am I watching this movie if I already know that she's about to turn to him and go, it's not you, it's me, every single time in every Hallmark Christmas movie. It's kind of like that, but you watch them anyways because they're fun stories and they're easy to get into. That's kind of how I feel about cliches. I'm not a fan of instant love or instant love connection, just because it doesn't make sense. But there isn't a cliche that I don't mind, because when you think about it, every story has some kind of cliche. It's just the unique twist that the author chooses to put on it. So I don't really have a problem with cliches. Question number 8 is, how do you arrange your books? And I think the sun is coming back, so yay! I will arrange my books by genre and then alphabetically by title within that genre. So I'll have a shelf of historical fiction and they're all organized alphabetically by title. And then if there's a series, I will organize it alphabetically by the title of the series. So I won't have multiple parts of a series spread out. I'll have them all together. Question number 9 is your favorite place to buy books. I love to go and sit in Barnes & Noble because of the atmosphere of being in Barnes & Noble. But the Barnes & Nobles in Phoenix have one shelf for Christian fiction, 1 or 2 shelves, and it's really disappointing. And I've been there, and sometimes the books are dusty because I've seen them there. They have 10 copies of The Scarlet Thread by Francine Rivers and no new books. I used to like to go to the Family Christian Bookstore because where I lived in California there was one really close, but they went out of business. I will typically buy my books on Amazon. I have Amazon Prime, so it's okay, but sometimes I wish I could just go to a physical bookstore and walk out with a physical copy of that book instantaneously. But it's very rare that the Barnes & Nobles in my area restock their Christian fiction section, and very rare that they actually have a Christian fiction section. Question number 10 is Kindle or paperback. I actually recently had an experience where my appreciation for Kindle books was rekindled. Normally, I prefer paperback or hardcover, just because I like to hold the book in my hands. But recently, I was reading an ebook, and I really appreciated having the Kindle because I could take it wherever, and it was much more convenient. Especially if I'm at school, I already have a backpack full of books and laptops. Adding a book in there, especially if it's a hardcover book, does not help my back pain by the end of the day. I appreciate both. I prefer paperback. I like to be able to see the books on my shelves. My goal is Beauty and the Beast library. That thing is gorgeous. That's all I want. I'm sorry. Did I scare you? So those were my 10 bookish confessions, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you like Christian fiction or if you just like books and writing in general. Also, be sure to go and check out my blog at www.jennavanmourik.com, as well as my Instagram, where I post daily pictures of books and of course little snippets of my life here and there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!